If you are an American over 45 and spending more than $3,000 a month just to barely get by, then you need to watch this video. Because with only $1,700 a month, you can live legally in a country that speaks English, is just a 4-hour flight from the US, and grants residency with only $2,000 in monthly income. No home purchase required, no large investment required, no new language required. I'm talking about Belize, and in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how you can move here in 30 days, the real cost of living, the safest areas, and the story of a 58-year-old American who cut his expenses by 60% after just 3 months of living here. If you've ever thought living in the Caribbean was too expensive, this video will change that. Stay until the end, because I'll share 5 golden rules for living abroad that will help you avoid mistakes and start a safer new life. Dream it. Pack it. Go. 1. Belize, the ticket out of America's expensive life. Imagine this. You wake up one morning, open your window, and the Caribbean breeze blows in. Not car horns, not work emails, not unpaid bills waiting on the table. Just blue ocean, soft sunlight, and a completely new day. That is Belize, where many Americans are coming not to vacation, but to start over. Belize is located in Central America, right between Mexico and Guatemala, but the entire eastern side of this country opens to a Caribbean ocean so beautiful that sometimes you have to close your eyes to believe it's real. And the interesting thing is, you don't need to fly halfway around the world to get here. From Florida, Texas, or California, it only takes 2 to 4 hours. It's almost like flying from New York to Florida. But what makes Belize a phenomenon in the American retirement community isn't just the scenery. It's the language. Here, English is the official language. This makes Belize a rare exception in the region. You can do paperwork, see a doctor, rent a home, buy land, talk to locals, without facing any barriers. Unlike Mexico, Costa Rica, or Panama, where you must learn the local language to live long-term. Belize also has more than 450 small islands, cays that sparkle on the blue sea, where the water is so clear you can see fish gliding beneath your feet. And surrounding all those islands is the world's second-largest barrier reef, only after the Great Barrier Reef. Not many people can say, "I live next to one of the planet's natural wonders." In Belize, that's completely normal. And there is one more thing that makes Americans love this country: the pace of life. Belize has only about 420,000 people. No traffic jams, no crowds, no rushing. Belizeans live slowly, kindly, and almost everyone greets you with a smile, even if they don't know who you are. Finally, the biggest reason. Belize is the Caribbean you can actually afford. You get beaches as blue as the Bahamas, air like Cayman, a sense of freedom like the Virgin Islands, but at half the cost. You don't need to be a millionaire to live here, and that is exactly why more and more Americans are leaving expensive, noisy, high-pressure cities to come to Belize, where every morning feels like the beginning of a different life. Do you think you could live in a place like this? Leave a comment. I want to know the first place you would step into if you had the chance. 2. Belize visa. Why does everyone say it's too easy to live here? After learning why Belize is becoming a replacement paradise for Americans, the next question is always, how do you live here legally? And this is where many people are surprised. Because while Europe requires large assets, South America demands complicated paperwork. Belize is so simple it almost makes you laugh. You only need to be 45 years old and have $2,000 in income from pension or investments to open the door to an official Caribbean life. Belize calls it the QRP program, a kind of golden visa, but designed for everyday retirees. No investment required, no home purchase required, no obligation to stay 365 days. You only need to stay here 30 days a year. The rest of the time you can fly in and out as you like. And most importantly, you can bring your belongings, your car, your boat, even your private plane into Belize tax-free. In the US, import taxes make you struggle. In Belize, they simply say, "Bring whatever makes you happy." The only thing you are not allowed to do is work for a company in Belize, but online income, stock investments, US real estate, or pension income are completely valid. This is exactly why thousands of Americans aged 55-70 are moving to Belize. They don't need to change jobs, don't need to give up their citizenship. They only need to change their lifestyle. And if you are someone who wants to stay longer, build a small home, plant a few mango trees, raise 2 rescue dogs, and truly call Belize home, then by living continuously for about a year, you can apply for permanent residency. This status allows you to work, do business, open a cafe, rent out apartments, or even move towards citizenship after a few years. This is the doorway for those who want to truly put down roots. And if you're just testing the waters, unsure if this place suits you or not, Belize offers a very relaxed option: the tourist visa. Americans get 30 days free entry, then extend month by month for about $100 per extension. Many people have lived 6 months to a year simply through this easy extension while exploring Caribbean life as slowly as the afternoon breeze on Ambergris Beach. If you work online, programming, copywriting, crypto, trading, Belize also has a digital nomad visa that allows a 6-month stay, only requiring proof of foreign income. No discrimination against freelancers. No difficulty like Europe. As long as you have online work, you are welcomed. And it is this very simplicity that makes Belize the perfect choice for Americans who want to move to a tropical country, but don't want to battle paperwork. Here, every path is designed so you can slow down, live honestly, and most importantly, live legally without giving up your freedom. If you qualify for QRP, would you be ready to move within the next 6 months? Comment yes or not yet, so I know where you are on this journey. 3. Cost of living, where $2,000 is no longer a worry, but real freedom. What surprises many Americans when they arrive in Belize isn't the blue ocean or the postcard-perfect little islands. It's the feeling that money no longer presses down on them the way it does in the US. Here, the most expensive thing is the sunshine, while almost everything else is unbelievably light. An American couple living in Belize typically spends around $6,000 to $20,050 a month, depending on where they choose to live. Ambergris Island is more expensive, while Corozal or Cayo District are much cheaper. The interesting thing is, even at the lowest end, you still get a much better quality of life than in the US. Rent, the wallet-eating monster in America, becomes something breathable here. A clean, airy 1-2-bedroom apartment near a market or near the beach costs only about $800 to $200. Many places are even cheaper if you prefer living inland. Utilities and internet are around $150–250, but you'll be surprised to know that most of the time, the sea breeze is cool enough that you don't need to run air conditioning all day. And that's when you clearly feel one thing. Living in Belize means nature gives back what you used to pay for in the US. Shopping at the market in Belize is also an experience that makes you smile. Local fruits, mangoes, coconuts, papayas, bananas, are so cheap that you won't want to go back to American supermarkets. Fresh seafood is caught in the morning and sold right on the beach for half the price compared to the US. A meal out with grilled fish and vegetables is usually under $10. Of course, Belize is not a perfect paradise. Imported goods, American cheese, wine, electronics, are more expensive than back home. But most Americans who have lived here long-term say, "I don't need those things every day anymore. I live more simply, and I'm happier." If you choose the right area, Corozal, Cayo, or Placencia, around $1,800 a month for 2 people is more than enough to live comfortably. Clean food, good sleep, morning coffee, a few meals out each week, and occasional boat trips to nearby small islands. No overspending, no tightening your belt. Just the right amount, the right quality, the right needs. Belize won't make you rich, but Belize makes you stop being afraid of running out of money. And for many Americans, that is a kind of freedom they've long desired. With this level of spending, do you think Belize could be your next stop? Share your ideal budget. I'll help you find the right region. 4. Housing. In Belize, a home isn't a burden. It's how you find peace again. If in the US, finding a home always comes with stress, paperwork, credit checks, and a long list of invisible extra fees, then Belize feels like an opposite world. Here, housing isn't a race. It feels like a gentle choice, a kind of, do you want to live near the beach, near the forest, or close to Mexico? Just choose and live. In the most beautiful areas like Ambergris Caye or Placencia, you only need to take a few steps to hear the sound of waves. A clean, airy 1- to 2-bedroom apartment with a balcony facing the sea usually ranges from $800 to $1,200. Slightly more if you want true beachfront, but still less than half of what you'd pay in Florida or California. And if you prefer a larger space, a small garden, a few mango trees, the sound of wind passing through coconut palms every afternoon, then Cayo District or Corozal are the options most loved by Americans. Here, you can rent a 2-bedroom home for only about $500–700, or buy land at prices so low you have to look twice to make sure you didn't read it wrong. What surprises Americans the most isn't the price, but the feeling of freedom. You're no longer confined to cramped apartments near highways, nor forced to live between gray buildings. In Belize, you can drink coffee on your porch and watch fishing boats from afar. Go out to your yard in the afternoon to listen to the birds, and spend weekends kayaking without spending $1 because the ocean is right in front of you. Of course, Belize also has expensive areas. San Pedro is the clearest example. This place is beautiful, lively, full of wealthy expats, and beachfront apartments can reach several $1,000s. But you don't need to live there to have an amazing life. With the same amount of money, you can live twice as spacious in Placencia, or 3 times as much if you choose Cayo. And here is something that almost 100% of long-term Americans in Belize tell each other. Don't buy a home right away. Rent for 6 to 12 months. Learn the area, learn the people, then decide. Because Belize isn't a place where you rush to own property. It's a place where you choose the right region, the right pace, the right community, and slowly let your heart decide where home truly is. In Belize, a house is not something you spend 30 years paying off. It is a place where you open the door and feel alive again. If you want me to make a separate video just about renting, buying, and which areas to avoid in Belize, comment the word home below. I'll know you're truly interested in this step. 5. Safety. The level of safety in Belize and what life really feels like for Americans. When talking about safety in Belize, the most important thing is to understand a very simple truth. Belize is not a perfect paradise, but it is also not as dangerous as something you may have read somewhere. Here, everything depends on choosing the right area to live. Belize City, especially some inner-city neighborhoods, has higher crime, and everyone knows that. But what many people don't say is this. Most American expats do not live in Belize City. They live in Placencia, San Pedro, Corozal, or Cayo, places with a gentle pace, tight-knit communities, and a level of safety very similar to coastal Florida towns in the 1980s. You'll see children walking outside during the cool late afternoon, locals sitting on their porches drinking coconut water, and neighbors chatting with one another. In expat areas, everyone knows each other's faces, and with just one good evening, you've already made a new friend. If you live in the right area, lock your doors at night, don't show off expensive items, and keep basic habits like you would in any country, you can absolutely live a safe, gentle, worry-free life. Many Americans who once lived in New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles even say they feel safer in Placencia or Corozal, simply because life moves slowly here. People are friendly, and the expat community always supports each other. If you need help, the whole neighborhood will know in 5 minutes, an American living in Corozal said, smiling as he pointed toward the small, charming houses lining the seaside. Belize does not promise that you will never face risks. No country does. But Belize offers you something else. The feeling that you can live safely if you choose the right place and live the right way. No constant anxiety, no being on edge every second. Just living slowly, living near kind people, and letting the Caribbean afternoons remind you that safety isn't always in statistics. It's in the peace you feel every morning when you open your eyes. Are you worried about safety if you leave the U.S.? Comment safety. If enough people are interested, I'll make a separate video just about security, the best areas to live and the areas to avoid. 6. Lifestyle. The lifestyle in Belize, where many Americans say they find themselves again. The lifestyle in Belize isn't something you read in a travel brochure. It's something you feel with your eyes, your skin, your breath every morning when the sea breeze flows across your porch. Here, everything happens slower, lighter, and more authentically. You start your day with the smell of hot coffee, the steady sound of waves offshore, and the feeling that you're no longer pulled into any kind of hustle. Belize has a rhythm of life that makes many Americans, for the first time in years, feel, finally, I can breathe. Walking around Placencia in the afternoon, you'll see children playing under coconut trees, fishermen returning with their morning catch, and locals smiling at you even though they don't know who you are. In Ambergris Caye, life is a bit livelier. Small beachfront bars, reggae music blending with the wind, expats gathering in the evenings to play dominoes or have BBQs, telling each other stories about the lives they left behind. And in inland areas like Cayo District, life carries the green of forests, rivers, and little gardens, where each afternoon you can water a few mango trees and sit down to watch the sunset. And right in that Cayo district, there is a story that nearly all Americans living in Belize know. The story of John Miller, 58, who once felt he was running out of strength from life in Arizona. He came to Belize just for a 2-week vacation, but on the 3rd morning, when he opened the door of his small seaside room to welcome the breeze, when he smelled the neighbor lady's coconut bread, when he drank a cup of coffee at a roadside cafe where the owner said, "Here, no one stays just 2 weeks," he knew his life was about to turn a different page. John went back to the U.S., sold his truck, packed up his home, and returned to Belize only 3 months later. He rented a 1-bedroom house for $850, went to the market each morning to buy mangoes, and sometimes walked to the beach to watch fishermen push their boats. When he caught a mild cold, he went to a private clinic and paid exactly $35. No complicated insurance, no 1-meter-long bill. The doctor asked him one question he never forgot. "Are you getting enough rest?" And that was when he realized Belize wasn't just cheap, it was kind. Now, every afternoon, John walks along the riverside, cares for a small dog, and writes in a journal, something he never had time for in the US. He says, "I'm not getting younger, but for the first time in many years, I'm no longer afraid of getting older." And that is exactly the lifestyle of Belize. It doesn't require you to be luxurious. It doesn't force you to race. It simply gives you the very thing you've always lacked: time, peace, and the feeling that you are living at your own pace. Belize doesn't change who you are. It simply gives you back the version of yourself that life in the US once took away. 7. Healthcare. Why Americans say Belize helps them fear hospitals less. One of the biggest fears Americans have when thinking about living abroad isn't housing, food, or safety. It's healthcare. In the US, just one fall, one stomach ache, or one visit to the ER is enough to keep you up for weeks because of the bill. In Belize, what surprises Americans most isn't modern hospitals, but accessibility and unkindness. In expat areas like San Pedro, Placencia, or Cayo, you can see a doctor much faster than in the US. A general checkup is only about $30–60. Basic medications are so cheap that you can buy enough for an entire month without needing insurance. If you need tests, ultrasounds, or minor treatments, most of them can be done the same day, without waiting weeks like in the US. Belize also has many private clinics that serve the international community. Friendly doctors, English-speaking, and especially, they approach patients as human beings, not as medical record numbers. For more specialized cases, expats often fly to Mexico within 1 to 2 hours, where medical services meet international standards, but cost only 30–40% of what they do in the US. Many people even buy international insurance for only about $100–150 a month, enough to get checkups in Belize and receive treatment in Mexico or Panama if needed. But what makes many Americans truly breathe easier isn't the numbers, it's the feeling. I'm no longer living in fear of hospitals. In Belize, healthcare isn't a financial nightmare. It is a part of life that you can manage, gently, clearly, and more humanely. Are you looking for a slower pace of life? If the answer is yes, comment the word Belize, so I know you're still with me and want to explore even deeper. 8. Cons. A few small things you need to know before moving. Belize is beautiful, easy to live in, but there are a few things you should prepare for. Internet on the islands can be slow at times. Imported goods like cheese or electronics may be more expensive, and administrative procedures are not as fast as in the US. Healthcare is good enough for basic needs, but complicated cases usually require going to Mexico for treatment. And above all, everything here moves slowly, very slowly. But for most Americans I meet in Belize, these small inconveniences are nothing compared to the feeling of living lighter, cheaper, and more peacefully each day. Belize is not for those who need everything to be fast, precise, and identical to the US. If you hate slowness, can't tolerate paperwork that sometimes requires waiting, or want a 5-star hospital at the end of your street, you'll likely be more frustrated than happy here. Before you leave this video, there are 5 principles that anyone living abroad should remember. Principle 1. Don't bring American expectations into a country with a different pace of life. When you let go of expectations, everything becomes lighter and easier to breathe. Principle 2. Choose community first, scenery second. A beautiful beach is not as important as having safe, friendly neighbors and an expat community that supports one another. Principle 3. Rent for 6 to 12 months before buying. Don't rush to own. Understand the area, understand the people, then put down roots. Principle 4. Learn a few local phrases. You don't need to speak fluently, just hello, thank you, how much? This small effort opens big doors. Principle 5. Keep your finances simple and have a safety cushion. Don't carry too much debt. Don't complicate your spending. A 3 to 6 month emergency fund will help you live more safely and peacefully. There are places you go to travel, and there are places you go to find yourself again. Belize belongs to the second group. Here, the ocean isn't just blue. It's gentle enough to soothe the years you spent living too fast, too tired, too pressured in the US. And sometimes, just one morning opening your door to the sea breeze is enough for you to realize life still has room for you to begin again. If one day you find yourself wanting to live slower, happier, and truly belong somewhere, give Belize a chance to show you that you deserve a second life. Which place will you choose to start over? Share it in the comments. Who knows, your journey might be the story I tell in the next video.